Happy Valentine's Day, players! Hello and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. It's Valentine's Day. I've got a jumper on that's got hearts on. I've got hair clips that have got hearts on. Happy Valentine's Day for those who celebrate. Today's video is loosely linked with Valentine's Day. I wanted to do a video about books that make you love yourself and books that are about loving yourself. And I wanted to do this. This was based on me wanting to do a video on Valentine's Day, but also I saw a couple of books on my shelves and I was like, God, they really made me love myself, those books. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I should do this of like 10 books to make you love yourselves, but I haven't. I've stuck to sort of 4. Well, I've stuck to 4, and I thought quality over quantity this time round, because I do love a list with like 10 books on it, but these were the books that were on my shelves. They're all favourites of mine. And I thought I would use this as an opportunity to talk about them, because if you feel like you want to read something that's going to make you feel like you love yourself, or read about somebody who loves themselves, then please come on in and enjoy it. So there's 3 fiction books here, 1 non-fiction. We'll start with the YA fiction book. And as I said, these are all favourite books of mine, so if you've been watching this channel for a while, you will be familiar with these books. But it might be the opportunity which you need to think, yeah, I am going to go ahead and read that. So the first one is Big Bones by Laura Dockrill. As I said, this is a YA book about Bluebell, also known as BB or Big Bones. And she is a young woman who absolutely loves herself despite her body size and people telling her that she shouldn't love herself because of her body size. And it's written in sort of excerpts devoted to food. So for example, I've opened it here at cinnamon, but there's all sorts of things. I remember one of my favourite ones is leftover shepherd's pie, Hawaiian pizza, salt, energy drinks, and it's all different parts of her life, because she's been told she's not allowed to quit school unless she writes a diary about her plans, and she decides to write this as a food diary. And it's absolutely brilliant, and this is the exact sort of thing that I wish that I had had when I was Bluebell's age growing up, because I had no body positive or even body accepting role models when I was younger. And I remember my whole life used to be about like being thin and it is just so boring, isn't it? The thought of just like, as a young woman, my personality was diets. Like I used to really dampen down the other parts of me that were interesting, like the fact that I love to read loads, like and I'm struggling to think of other things about me, because all I remember of being being like doing my GCSEs at the age of 16 and sort of around that age is just exercise and wanting to be thin and thinking, if I'm thinner then more people will like me and I'll be able to get the boy that I fancy, etc, etc. And this is so anti that and so accepting and wonderful that I just wish this book had been around for me when I was younger. And it meant so much to me when I read it the first time as an adult, because I was like, oh God, this is like, I wish I'd had this, and I can learn so much from Bluebell as a body positive and body accepting person. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and Laura Dockrill's writing is so funny. She's hilarious, and there's so much sort of sass and humour in these books as well, in this book as well. So yeah, would highly recommend. Like, so good, so good. It's actually due a reread, to be honest, because I've only ever read it once in my life and it meant so much to me that time. Might be due a reread maybe this year, maybe for Valentine's Day, maybe any time of the year, but yeah, it's going to make you love yourself, I promise. Next up is Welcome to Your Life by Bethany Rutter. This is a book I read last year and very much enjoyed it. It's a women's contemporary fiction book. Romance, not my sort of thing that I would normally go for. Definitely getting more into that sort of thing nowadays. But this is about Serena, who is, we meet Serena on her wedding day, and she's about to get married. And she's marrying someone that she's been with for a very long time, and sort of this has sort of come along. And I imagine a lot of people's relationships have been this, that they've just felt, oh well, we're together and it's not bad, but it's not particularly good. And she breaks up with him on her wedding day, and then the next sort of year is her relocating to London, as is the case in these sort of women's contemporary fiction books, and getting a new job and going on dates, getting back into the dating market. She's been like taken for a long time. She's been in a relationship for a long time, and yeah, it's really fun. And I loved the bits about the dates and the sort of case studies that she does on these dates that she goes in. But mainly what I really like is that that Serena is plus size. She's a big girl, like big bones, and that is not an issue to her, as it shouldn't be. And it's a real good commentary on the fact that a lot of clothes that she wants to wear that are in the high street and stuff like that aren't available to her as a plus size person, so she makes her own clothes, and I loved that creative side of it. I also love the love in this, and not only has Serena got like a lot of love for herself because she says goodbye to a relationship that isn't necessarily bad but isn't doing good things for either her or the guy that's in it, but it's also a real love letter to London as well. She relocates to London and moves in to a house of one of her friends who's away working, and gets a job working in central London. And there's real lovely bits in here where Serena, and I know Bethany loves London so much, I follow Bethany on Instagram and Twitter, she's amazing, Bethany Rutter, go follow her. And there's a real sort of love letter in there too, London, and bits about her walking around of an evening, and it starts in like when she moves to London, it's the summer, and her saying things like see it going past I remember this so vividly, walking past the back of the theatre and seeing the stage doors open and seeing the auditorium from that, and that sort of experience that you wouldn't potentially get other places other than London. And yeah, so not only is it all about sort of Serena loving herself, and it definitely made me think, oh yeah, I love myself a lot. It's about loving friends and the place that you live in and stuff like that. Full of love. Really, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend. Great beach read. Actually, both of these great, but like sort of summer reads. Really, really great. Next up is another book that is a favourite of mine, and it's Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams. This was a favourite of mine a couple of years ago. I've since revisited it via audiobook. And People Person by Candice Carty-Williams was one of my favourite books of last year as well. Love the author, love her. And this is about Queenie, who's in a job that she's sort of overlooked in, not really enjoying it. She's dating men that aren't particularly doing anything for her, and she's got mental health issues. Now, on the surface of this, it's not a book about that. There's not like a massive like go love yourself message like potentially there is in Welcome to Your Life and Big Bones, but the kindness with which Queenie treats herself by the end of this book is definitely a love yourself moment. She decides, she gets the help for that she needs for her mental health problems by the end of the book, despite sort of like pushback from family members and stuff like that. And she takes herself away from these sort of like toxic relationships and toxic sort of like one night stands and friends with benefits, friends being a not quite sure that they're friends, but like that sort of relationship, and she starts listening to herself and her needs. And I find that a very, very important thing, and something that I've definitely learned to do in the past few years. I say in the past few years, since I've been 30 really. And yeah, it's a great book, and yeah, like I said, whilst not necessarily on the surface a book about loving yourself, definitely a book about treating yourself with kindness and putting your needs at the top where they need to be, guys. They need to be there. And then the last book, as I said, there was 3 fiction and 1 non-fiction. This was another of my favourite books from last year. No, none of these. Oh yeah, but Welcome to Your Life made my halfway through my favourites of the year. Didn't make the big favourites, but this is Why Did You Stay by Rebecca Humphreys, and it's a memoir about toxic love, and it's got toxic love crossed out here and written self-worth. So I came to this book because I followed Rebecca on Instagram and Twitter following the situation that this book is about. So Rebecca's boyfriend is a famous comedian in this country and took part in Strictly Come Dancing, which you will well know is something that I'm very, very fond of, which is a dancing competition that is televised on the TV on BBC One here. Massive big TV event, runs from like September all the way up until Christmas, and is a really, really big deal. It's in like its 13th or 14th year now. Big deal, guys. And he got announced for it, and he had an affair with his professional dancing partner, and he was pictured kissing her in the street, and this all happened on his girlfriend Rebecca's birthday. And this book is excerpts of what happened following her finding out that her boyfriend had been caught kissing his dance partner on, and it was all going to be splashed across the newspapers. That sort of like the next steps from that, and her sort of recovery from that, and her learning to sort of assess everything that had happened in her life, because she'd just always been in this sort of like toxic relationship, and then flashbacks to this toxic relationship that she'd been in, and the sort of dependency that she had on him, and that she felt like she needed him, and this sort of like love bombing situation that seems to be quite the thing. And I've seen her being interviewed many times, and heard her interviewed, and she's just so perfect at like putting this in words, something that I'm struggling to do at the moment, but like how somebody could run you down so much so that you'd feel so shit, and then right at the last minute they'd save you with a sort of like, oh, you look really beautiful today comment, or take you away for your birthday or something like that. Not kiss their dance partner on national, but like that sort of like love bombing, and like a swooping sensation where you feel, oh my god, maybe this relationship is perfect. And it really made me look at the way that I had treated myself in previous relationships, not with lovely David, obviously not, he is perfect, and the sort of behaviour that I'd put up with from other men before I'd met David, and when I sort of had believed that that was all that I was worth. And this is about self-worth, and it really made me look at myself and look at the way that I'd been treated in previous relationships, and made me sort of like open my eyes to things that had happened in the past, and fortunately for me are in the past, but would highly recommend this for people. Even if, like, I remember speaking to my friend about it, my friend saying, is there a whole book in that though, like someone's boyfriend cheats on them with their Strictly Come Dancing partner? And I was like, but it's about so much more than that. And I thought it was amazing. And in the same way that Laura Dockrell writes with this sort of like sass and humour and sharpness, Rebecca Humphries does exactly the same. And I found this a really important read last year. I really enjoyed it. It was one of yeah, like, I think it was in my top 3 books that I read last year. So there we go, 4 books about loving yourself. Let me know down below, let's collate in the comments books that you've read that have made you love yourself, or books that are about loving yourself. Not necessarily self-help books. As I've said, I've included 3 fiction books here, but would really like to collate in the comments a good selection of books about loving yourself, because I love myself, and even then sometimes I need to read a book about it to remind myself, because I just think it's such a nice thing. So there we go, happy Valentine's Day for everybody, and I'll see you all again soon for another BookTube video. Goodbye!